Alright guys, so welcome back to my channel, and as you read from the title, I have my baby. So if you watched my last video, I want to say my third trimester update, I was definitely saying that I felt like my baby was gonna come in the next week or so. My baby literally came the same day that I got finished filming all those videos. So the same day that I filmed that video, not the day that I uploaded, but the day that I filmed the actual video, was the same day that I went into labor. So yes, my baby is here, but we're gonna get into all the crazy details of my labor and delivery story. So I will just say, as a disclosure, it can be trigger warning, just in case, like if you went through something traumatic in regards of labor, then this is going to be a lot for you. But if you want to hear more about my 2022 labor and delivery experience during the whole COVID pandemic, stay tuned and keep on watching. If you're new to my channel, hey girl, hey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and then let's just jump right into details. Alright guys, so it is 6 something in the morning, and I just got my catheter removed, thank God, and I got my IV removed. I had to stay in labor and delivery pretty much for a full 24 hours to get monitored because I had preeclampsia and my blood pressure was really high. They basically monitored me on this medicine to make sure I don't have a seizure, and I should be going to postpartum in a few, and I'm gonna update you guys over there. Yes, I did test positive for COVID, so that's why I sound crazy like this. And no, the baby is not in this room, but when I get the baby, of course I'm gonna record, but it's like having a baby and stuff. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm gonna give you guys an update real quick. My throat hurts so bad, like it's so dry, and it hurts when I talk. Oh my god. So I'm gonna try to get some tea. I just wanted to tell y'all that, and of course when I go to the bathroom, I'm gonna show y'all like how my body and stuff looks after 1 day of having a baby. I look a mess. I'm crying again. I'm currently getting a blood transfusion. If y'all can see, I'm just like, it hurts so bad. I'm doing pretty bad. I'm just in so much pain. I can't even get up without feeling like I'm gonna fall or pass out. Like, it hurts so bad. Not the blood transfusion. Just having COVID. This was such a traumatic experience. So I had to get 2 pints of blood. It's supposed to take 3 hours. This is really hurting me. I'm really irritated. My face is still swollen, but yeah. Hopefully I'm gonna be able to get some rest, and when I get up and it finished, I feel better and stuff. But I'm gonna try to lay down. While I'm laying down, I'm gonna try to go to sleep and see if it helps. So I will check back in with you guys. Alright guys, so this is the update. I'm putting a second bag of fluid. Sorry, it just like hurts. My chest hurts, so not hurts, but my chest is like heavy when I roll over. But yeah, I'm on my second bag of blood. My baby is COVID negative, and yeah, I do feel a little better from the blood, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I don't know, but my middle son has COVID as well, so it's a lot happening. I'm just really tired, but I'm gonna fight it. And once I get out the bed, hopefully I'm able to show you guys myself in the mirror. I can show you how I look, but this is it for now. Okay, y'all, so I'm getting discharged. This is my postpartum. And yeah, me and the baby is out of here. Okay, so I kind of wrote everything down. So if you guys see me like looking down here, that means I'm just looking at my phone to tell y'all exactly how the events happened and how everything just took place. So yeah, sorry. All right, so the first thing first, when's did my water break? So my water broke literally at like 3:30 in the morning. I was like upstairs, like I said, I filmed the video. I was upstairs with my cousin watching TV, just regular stuff, but I was having already a lot of contractions. I remember I was speaking to my other cousin on the phone, and I was telling her, I was like, dang, I was like, I could feel the baby in like my pelvic, like it just, he just felt so close. Now mind you, I haven't seen my doctor since like 35 weeks, so I was overdue to see the doctor, maybe even 34 weeks. My like actual doctor, I couldn't see him because every time I had an appointment, he always was like going to the hospital to deliver a baby and stuff. So I was never seeing him, which made things even more hold on, it's like my other cousin, which made things even more worse because I didn't see him. So I was never checked at 37 weeks, which I had turned that day, or the day before I was supposed to see him. He has a canceled appointment, so I was supposed to go see him on Thursday, which I'm gonna lead into what happened on Thursday later on in the story. So yeah, so I didn't get to see him, and basically my water broke at 3:30. I finally went in the bed. I was laying down. I remember my son, he happened to be up because he took a nap that day, so he happened to wake up and he was telling me, mommy, I'm about to go to bed, blah blah blah. And I'm in the bed, I'm laying down, and just something felt weird. Like I just felt not like a big gush, but I felt a gush, like something happened. And I'm like, let me go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom. I do see some water coming down. Also, I see like mucus in my undergarments. So I'm like, dang, I think my water broke. So I called my cousin. Now, this cousin is my cousin, like my aunt. So I was on the phone with her the whole entire experience. So throughout the whole entire experience, I was on the phone with her. So I'm calling her. I'm like, I think my water just broke. She's like, what? I'm like, I think my water just broke. Like, it's water coming out, and like I'm leaking and mucus. Like, I'm gonna definitely go to the hospital. So I remember I got in the shower, and not too long after I started experiencing contractions, but the contractions were mild. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, they were like a 3-4. So I was able to like breathe through them, get things done, take a shower, change my clothes, all of that stuff. They were like maybe a 4 the most. I want to say they were like a 4 range. So that was that. I had left my house, so I called my son's father. I couldn't get him on the phone. I called my mom. I couldn't get her on the phone. So I just left my house. I went to the hospital that I was supposed to deliver. So the ride to the hospital, it wasn't too crazy. Surprisingly, I got there pretty decent. Like I think it took like 25 minutes for me to get there. I did have contractions throughout the whole entire ride. Like I said, still on the phone with my cousin, soaking her the whole time through the contractions. She was timing the contractions, so they were definitely coming closer and closer as I was getting closer to the hospital. So I guess I was already in labor, pretty much. So I got to the hospital. I told them, you know, whatever was happening. They took me upstairs to labor and delivery. Now this is where shit goes left. So as I'm going to the labor and delivery, I'm in the wheelchair. First of all, it took them a minute. Like I'm sitting there waiting for somebody to take me upstairs to labor and delivery. So I'm telling my cousin, like, listen, if somebody don't take me upstairs at this point, I'm about to walk to this elevator. Of course, when they heard that, they didn't want me to walk to the elevator. They finally found someone to take me upstairs to labor and delivery. They asked me these stupid ass questions. Like, yeah, I can't just pull up my file, but whatever. I've been to this hospital before, so I don't understand what's the issue, but whatever. So they asked me these dumb questions. Finally, I get into the room. Now, this is when the contractions went from 4 to like a good 6.5 going on a 7. So I'm starting to have contractions way more. I'm telling them, they're asking me like the dumbest of the dumb questions, like, what? I'm in active labor. Why are you asking me this right now? Can't we do this like another time? So by then, I just had an attitude. I'm pissed off. I'm already mad that my son father is asleep and he's not answering the phones, and I'm in the hospital by myself. Like, I'm in the hospital by myself. Mind you, a cousin I'm on the phone with, she doesn't live in Queens, and I really didn't want her to come because, one, she had COVID. 2, in the hospitals you can only have one person in the hospital with you. So I'm like, okay, if she comes, then my son's father, he's like not gonna be able to be here, because already at the hospital where I went to, they really didn't want visitors. But in labor and delivery, you can have one visitor stay with you unless they test positive for COVID or you have COVID, which we will touch into that in like a second. So we're going back and forth. Me and the nurses, they're asking me these dumbass questions. Like, one of the questions was like, do you plan on getting your tubes tied? Bitch, what? So I'm planning on getting my tubes tied. I'm trying to have this baby first before I even figure that out. I'm like, what are you asking me this stupidness for? Like, I'm too young to even get my tubes tied. So like, what are we talking about? But anyway, that was that. So by now the contractions are at an 8. They're like really there. I'm begging for, like, I'm asking for the epidural. Finally, the anesthesiologist, he makes his way, and my contractions were just so bad I couldn't even function. Like, when I was having the contractions, I had to stop everything. I had to wait for it to pass and then keep going forward. So after I signed the paperwork or whatever for the for the epidural, he leaves. I guess he goes to do whatever, check on whoever. I think he had somebody like ahead of me, so he went to go do that. And by now my contractions are just so bad. I feel like I'm dying. Like, they were happening so frequent. They were like probably 2 minutes apart. I just didn't understand at that point why no one went and got the doctor, and just to be like, okay, maybe she's in super active labor. And I will say this, if you are watching me and you're about to have a baby, try your hardest to have somebody with you. Like, I would not recommend this, or I wouldn't wish this on anybody. You do not want to be going through this experience right now by yourself, because a lot of these people in these hospitals are not even doctors. They're not nurses. I don't know what the fuck they are. I don't know their like exact title, but I know they're not exactly nurses. So I just feel like, yeah, if I had somebody there with me who could, like, you know, be more demanding, like, I wouldn't even went through half the shit I probably went through. So I will definitely say that. All right, so at this point, I'm going off on them so much. So they finally bring the doctor in. So when the doctor comes in and she checks me, I'm at 4 centimeters, and it took her a minute to check me because I was just having so many contractions. I couldn't even think. It was just so bad. So at this point, she checks me. I'm 4 centimeters dilated, and my baby was like really, like, he was really, you know, down there because he's getting ready. So they definitely say he was really low. So she leaves. I want to say literally like 5 minutes later, I just started feeling the worst contractions of the worst. I started fucking screaming. Like, when I say I started screaming, I started screaming. I felt like I was dying. It was so bad. I remember I turned my body like this way to the side of the bed, and I held the rail, and I was just shaking so bad. I was screaming so bad. I kept telling this lady in the room, I don't know exactly what she was, like what her title was, but she wasn't a doctor, and I don't even think she was a nurse or anything. I know what the fuck she was, but she was in the room, and I kept telling her, I'm like, oh my god, I'm in so much pain. Like, I feel like the baby's coming. And I remember her exact words was, he's not coming, he's just really low, so that's why you feel like that. Bitch, this is my 3rd baby. How you gonna tell me how I feel in my body? But whatever. So I'm like, huh? I'm just begging her. I'm like, can you please get the doctor, or can you please get the epidural, because I just didn't know which one. Literally 2 minutes after me saying that, I told her, like, she didn't move. She just pissed me the fuck off. If I could go back and punch her in her face, I would, because she just pissed me off that much. But anyway, so I remember telling her, I'm like, I feel his head. She's like, no, you don't feel his head, he's slow, whatever. I'm like, no, I feel like I can feel his head. I remember I must have had a contraction, and I don't know if I probably started, like, my body just was naturally pushing him out, but I felt his head literally in my vagina. I felt his head, and I don't know what happened. It kind of pulled him up a little bit, and I remember telling him, I was like, listen, when I have this next contraction, I'm about to start pushing, because at this point I felt like I needed to poop now. Like, I know my body, and for my second son, I labored really quick. Like, it took me, I went to the hospital. If y'all watch my other labor and delivery, you'll know the whole thing, but it took me from when I went to the hospital, my water broke, when my water broke, was in the ambulance, and I got to the hospital, it was time for me to start pushing. So I labored really fast. Now mind you, at this point I was only in the hospital for like an hour and a half, and I'm already feeling like I have to, you know, start giving birth. Maybe 2 hours the most, but it was no more than an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I'm telling her, like, listen, I had this first contraction, I'm about to push. Literally, I had the contraction, I started pushing. Kid y'all not, I pushed like 2 times, and my son literally shot out of me. It was so crazy that the lady literally, they, like, I don't even know what happened. Like, they ended up coming in the room, they came running, and it was just so much that happened so fast, because they didn't believe me when I'm telling them, like, yo, I feel like I'm about to have the baby. But like I said, when you're by yourself, and like, not to pull a color card, but when you're by yourself, and when you're black, and when you're young, like, you know, they don't take you serious, and it's so scary, because labor is such a scary thing. Like, you can die. Who's to say my son, the umbilical cord wasn't wrapped around his neck, you know, and I'm pushing him out? So it's just so many factors. Mind you, there was no doctor, and yeah, in those 2 pushes, my son came out. So yes, I pretty much got to all of this. So now the doctor comes in. The doctor is checking me, and he is extremely rough. He's telling me, apparently I lost a bunch of blood. So at this point, oh, and I didn't even tell you, at some point I did happen to speak to my son's father. I told him that I was about to get ready. I was at the hospital, and we were gonna have the baby. So I did speak to him. Around the time the baby did come, he happened to make it there, so he made it to the room. He's looking at the baby or whatever. Mind you, my AirPod fell, so I was talking to my cousin. I think she said she was still on the phone. I was talking to my cousin through the whole entire thing. It's so crazy. And I think she was on the phone, but I think at some point, like, I just started, like, I was in so much pain. Between me losing the blood, the doctor was so rough checking me, so she called my son's father and had him FaceTime her, and took pictures of, like, the blood on the floor, everything that was happening. You know, she basically documented everything. So at this point, he's checking me, he's telling me, like, I had him, I don't know what the hell it's called, like, the exact term. Basically, I was losing a lot of blood. So not only did he have to help me deliver the placenta, but now he has to check and see why I'm just bleeding so much. Prior to all of this, they do, come on, dishwasher. Prior to all of this, I did sign a document, like, if I needed to get a transfusion done, a blood transfusion, that I would get it done or whatever. So he's telling me if he can't figure it out, like, that's the case. So whatever, he checks me, we're going back and forth. It was such a horrible experience. Like, he was so rough. I just don't even remember this from the past 2 pregnancies I had before any of this ever going down, the doctor being so rough. But he was extremely rough with me. I hated him the whole time. I just could not wait for him to get the fuck off of me and get away from me at that point. So after all of this, I delivered a placenta, I get cleaned up, the whole shebang. They put me in a bed. I have to get a catheter, because I didn't even mention to you guys, but I have preeclampsia. My blood pressure was extremely high when I went into the hospital, and my blood pressure was still high after I gave birth. So they gave me that. They gave me some sort of medicine that basically it helps you to not have a seizure. Because my blood pressure was so high, I could have had a seizure. So they did that. Sorry, like my hair. But they did that so I couldn't have the seizure or whatever. And then they also gave me Pitocin. I don't remember why they gave me Pitocin. I think they gave me the Pitocin for the blood. I don't really remember. But they also gave me Pitocin. I had the catheter. I was on bed rest. I could not move for the whole day. It was just like not pleasant. After I had him, I could not get out the bed. I could not move. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I felt extremely weak. Extremely weak. And I was still in my labor and delivery room. So I didn't even go to the postpartum area. I was still in labor and delivery. They still were monitoring me. So I had to be on that medicine for like a full day. It was so intense that I had the baby for like a few hours. And then like I just couldn't even move. The catheter was so uncomfortable. Like when I would try to lean up to take him out the bassinet, like I just could not move. I had wires all over me. At the IV, I had the thing monitoring my blood pressure every like 20 minutes. It was just like still elevated, still going high. So then I want to say that was pretty much it. I was just like feeling really bad, feeling really weak. And at this point, we go into the next day. So the next day rolls around. Okay, so the next day rolls around, and now they are going to move me over to postpartum. So they ended up finally taking off the catheter. Also, I had these things on my leg that was supposed to like help my legs, help the blood stimulate in my legs. They were really bad. They were making my legs fall asleep. I felt like it was cutting off the circulation instead of making the circulation flow. But they finally took that off of me. I'm going to postpartum, and I remember when I got out the bed, I literally got in that wheelchair and I felt like I was gonna die. Kid you not. Oh, not to mention, hold on, let's roll back. So before all of this happens, before I get to postpartum part, they do test you for COVID. So they tested me for COVID. They tested my son and father for COVID. Come to find out, I was COVID positive. So I did have COVID. My son father, he had to leave. He could not stay with me because I had COVID, so he couldn't be with me. So that was another scary thing. Now I'm in here alone, have COVID, and then I had all of those other issues happening with me. So I just wanted to tell you guys that as far as the COVID thing went, I feel like I didn't really develop any symptoms until after I had the baby. So I don't know if I had COVID prior to like me being pregnant. I could have had COVID too, but I don't really know. But the symptoms didn't develop until after I had the baby. So let's go. Now we go to postpartum. I felt like literally when I got in that wheelchair, like I was gonna die. My chest felt so heavy. I felt so weak. I looked weak. I looked so bad. I remember telling him, I'm like, something is wrong with me. Like I can't explain what it is, but I feel lightheaded and I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And I literally had my head over like this on my lap, eyes closed. I said a prayer to God, like, yo, please just protect me. I want to be here for my babies. Like I really felt like I was gonna die. And they sent me over to postpartum. I remember at first they tried to say like I felt like this because I was just, you know, after everything that happens. And I remember in passing seeing my doctor, and he just looked at me, and he looked at me weird. Like I looked so bad. And shortly after, they told me, they analyzed my blood because they took so much blood from me. On top of me losing a lot of blood, they took a shit ton of blood from me to do tests and stuff. And long story short, they analyzed my blood, and whoever was in charge at the time, and also my doctor, my actual OBGYN, because he did finally make it after he missed the birth, but he did make it. And they assessed like the best thing for me would be to get the blood transfusion because I was extremely anemic, which I was already anemic prior to me giving birth, but I guess at that point I was extremely anemic. I lost so much blood, and they were saying like this is why a lot of the things I was feeling the way I felt, because I lost the blood. So when I heard I had to get the blood transfusion, I literally cried. I did not want to get it, but I was like, you know what, I talked to my mom and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just get it because it's gonna make me feel better. I'll get it. And when I got the blood transfusion, I'll say this: so when the blood goes in, it's very, like the lady described it as, it's because the blood is thicker than like fluid, you feel it more. Like it was really uncomfortable for like the first hour and a half, 2 hours. It's uncomfortable. Each bag of blood takes about 3 hours, so I had to get 2 bags of blood, and it took about 6 hours or so. And it was just really uncomfortable. But I will say the blood transfusion, it did work. It did make me feel better, because after I started to feel slowly better, the pain in my chest, it did start to go away. And what else? I'm trying to think. The pain in my chest, it did start to go away, and I did start to feel better. Like the next day I did feel a whole lot better, thank God. Just with the COVID, then symptoms that I started having was a lot of congestion. I was coughing, but I wasn't coughing too much, but I was starting to cough by then. And my throat was always just so dry. Like my throat was just extremely dry for some reason. So those were the symptoms that I did experience. After having a baby, I did, like, this is TMI, but I did pass like 2 really big clots in the hospital. They told me to just monitor it and stuff like that. I will say my whole hospital experience and the stay, I felt like it was very rushed. I felt like I should have definitely been in the hospital way longer. Like I just had a blood transfusion, and I got discharged 2 days after I had the baby, after I had the blood transfusion and everything. I literally was in the hospital for 2 whole days, and it was crazy because when I left, my blood pressure was still kind of elevated. It wasn't super high, but it was still elevated. But to be honest with y'all, at this point, I just wanted to get the hell up out of there and get away from those people, because it was just traumatic. It was really traumatic. It was really traumatizing. And I do have clips. I'm going to either, I don't know if the clips will either be uploaded in the beginning or the middle or the ends of this video, but the clips of me actually in the hospital, I'm gonna upload it. I'm thinking more so the end, so just keep watching and you're gonna actually see how I looked in the hospital. When I tell you I looked bad, I looked bad. And y'all gonna see me on the last day of the hospital when I was getting ready to leave. But now that we got all the details and all the craziness out the way, my son, he came at 37 weeks and 1 day, so he was still considered full term because he was 37 weeks. So all his everything was basically fully developed by then. His lungs was developed, he could breathe on his own, everything, because it was 37 weeks and 1 day. He was 5 pounds 13 ounces. He came at 6:27 in the morning, and he was 20 inches long. I pushed him out in 2 pushes. I got no pain medication, so there was no epidural, no nothing. It was another all natural birth. This was my 2nd natural birth I had. And see, honestly, he came out really quick. The hardest part was truthfully just the contractions. So if you are considering having a natural birth, if it's your 2nd baby, I say you can do it. The 1st kid I would never recommend, like not the first go around, but there's people who do it and you probably can do it. It's just the contractions is really hard, but other than that, the push and everything, it goes by so fast that you don't remember. Like you, at that point, your body has to just push, so you can't stop it either way. And yeah, so that was my traumatic labor and delivery story. So if you guys have anything that you could relate to, or this happened to you, definitely comment down below, because I would love to hear about it and know like I was not the only one. Like I said, y'all, especially for us African American people, make sure you have somebody there with you. Make sure you have somebody who's gonna voice their opinions, tell them no, tell them like you don't deserve to be treated like that, because they don't listen to us. They don't listen to us. They don't take us serious. And if you're by yourself, and if you're young, or if you look young, they're really not going to take you serious. So I definitely say you need to have somebody with you. And yes, that's going to conclude from this video. I hope you guys enjoyed everything I had to share from my experience. If you are expecting and you're about to have a baby too, congratulations, and I wish you a safe and positive and amazing delivery. And I'm gonna see you mamas in the next video. And hours and hours and hours, I could do this for hours.